Hi, my dear Astro family. So today we are going to be looking at the upcoming Pisces new moon, which is taking place on the 27th of February, and it's going to be taking place on 9 degree of Pisces. So we've got a new moon, which means that the sun and the moon are in conjunction. They are right next to each other. A new moon would represent a new beginning. So therefore, I'm going to be giving you some hints and tips of what you can do, what area of your life you can kind of start fresh. And also, I will be talking about two asteroids which are highly connected actually to this new moon. One of them is going to be Cassandra. Cassandra is in a very tight conjunction to this upcoming lunation. She's almost on the 9 degree of Pisces. And then on top of that, the dispositor of the new moon, Jupiter, who is in the sign of Gemini on 12 degree, in a very tight conjunction to Amor as well. So that's what we are going to be exploring in this video. I recommend staying till the very end. You will get a lot of information here. And Pisces can be quite a wishy-washy sign, so I think you need hints and tips of how to deal with it. And also, I will be breaking this down for the 12 signs as well. Don't forget to like the video, make a comment on that. Also, if you wish to have a personal reading with me, you can go on my website, check it out. And it would be also very much appreciated if you share the video with others. And by the way, I've got an upcoming class coming up. It's going to be all about vocations. Often you believe that you have got, the typical vocational houses, which are the second, sixth, or the 10th house. And often the eighth and the 12th house are actually overlooked. But if you really think about it, they are naturally in sextile to your midheaven. So therefore, they have got their own secrets connected to professions and vocations. Just to give you an example, often when Mars is in your 12th house, people love doing athletic stuff. Or when you have got Saturn, which is the researcher, but also 50% of the politicians actually either have got Saturn or Neptune in their 12th house. So we are going to be exploring these topics as well in this course. And especially we are going to be focusing on what happens if the outer planets are hitting your vocational houses. Surely I will be giving you a lot of tips, and it can give you clarity of what type of vocations you need to be doing and in what ways you can make money. But let's get started with this upcoming lunation because I've got a lot to share about it. So it's happening on 9 degree of Pisces. And first of all, Pisces is a mutable sign, which actually represents that sometimes it goes with the flow. It's a water sign, which actually connects with our emotion. It is more of a feminine sign, which kind of talks to us about that it's an internal type of energy that we are going to be going through. And it's a winter sign as well, which potentially can represent the fact that we are a little bit in our own cocoon. We don't necessarily like going out as much in the winter season, right? So Pisces is ruled by two planets. Modern astrology regards Neptune as the ruler. Traditional astrology would be using Jupiter. Me personally, I am more into the traditional rulers. So this is the reason why I will be looking at where Jupiter is. So we've got three water signs: Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. We have got a lot of water going on in this chart. So we can see Ceres, Neptune, North Node, Saturn, Mercury, now the sun and the moon in the sign of Pisces as well. Of course, we've got Mars in Cancer, a lot of water going on. And sometimes it can be really overwhelming because the emotion just is flooding us. Now, all water signs are connected, by the way. And water is about connectivity. So Cancer is connecting with the family members. Scorpio is about a connection with a partner. And Pisces is very much about connecting with the universe and connecting with the subconscious. So from an archetypical point of view, you can be looking at it as like Pisces as the savior, the artist, or the spiritualist. So which one you are, that's completely up to you. The lower manifestation is the savior. What do I mean by that? Well, first of all, you might be sacrificing your own life to save others. And of course, it can be really rewarding, don't get me wrong, but I think the law of universe is that you need to be able to save yourself first before you put the mask on others, right? For example, on the airplane. The expression of Pisces, either it is the coward, the addict, or just the dreamer. While we've got the middle ground, which is pretty much of the poet, and then we've got the spiritual guide, and that's the highest manifestation of Pisces. Now, remember that often we are frozen by our own fears. And even though this lunation is not connected very tightly to Saturn, but Saturn is in the sign of Pisces as well, which can be blocking us, which can be freezing us. So one of the questions I would say you're going to have to think about during this lunation is whether you have got a tendency to kind of postpone things, because then maybe you want to be creating new habits here. And also, when we are talking about, the spiritual guide, sometimes we need to listen to our emotions, we need to listen to our intuition, or we need someone like a guru, a teacher, a psychic, an astrologer, or just a good friend of yours who might be able to give you certain type of spiritual guidance. Some of the keywords that come with Pisces is that it's about looking for oneness. So there is a yearning going on with the Pisces new moon where I want to unite, for example, with my soulmate, if it's going to be in your seventh house. Therefore, you've got a Virgo rising sign. Or if it's your fifth house, I would like to become one with a child. So therefore, I would like to get pregnant, for example. Or simply the fifth house could represent something to do with oneness with your creativity. Pisces is about helping. It's sometimes about uncertainty as well. So you might be completely uncertain about the path that you need to be on. And this new moon is somehow inviting you to be hopeful, because it has got a very tight square to Jupiter, to be hopeful about the future, to be hopeful about the path that you are about to go on. And also, Saturn being in the sign of Pisces pretty much talks to us about that dreams can come true. So it's time to dream, but also it is time to take action as well. And then if you are kind of like feeling lost, maybe we want to be meditating on it a little bit, kind of like figuring out what your talents are, what you are good at, what is your heart desire. And this lunation is going to be particularly important because it's setting up the stage for the upcoming Venus retrograde, as well as the eclipses that are taking place in the sign of Pisces and Virgo in March. So this is a super important lunation, I would say. It's rare when we've got 7 planets in the same sign. Now, I tend to be associating Pisces with the Karpman's drama triangle. So basically, what it talks to you about is that we have got 3 pillars here. We've got the victim mindset, who keeps repeating, oh, poor me, it's not my fault. I'm getting sucked into these situations. Why is it always me? Or the people don't like me? Or why is it happening to me? So there is that whiny side to Pisces. And maybe you're going to have to be setting this straight during this. Now, the other pillar of this Kaufman's drama triangle is that you might become the rescuer. So actually, there is a victim who you want to come and then help them. So kind of like, let me help you, or I will do that for you. But let's not fight, or I feel really bad for you. Don't worry, you will be fine. Whenever you need someone, just give me a call and I'm there for you. But sometimes what happens is that we even attend other people's needs when they don't even ask for it. And then we have got the third pillar, which is the persecutor. So therefore, we've got the tendency to blame with Pisces as well when the problem comes around, when we don't get something that we actually wanted. Oh, you know what? This is your fault. I sacrificed all my life to raise children, for example. Pisces in the fifth house. What were you actually thinking when you did that? I've been giving you this guidance, I've been telling you what to do, and then you, excuse me, you kind of go against my advice. So you are out of your mind. Or why did you do that? What's your problem? So we can get stuck in this catch 22. And sometimes we need to be able to realize this triangle in the Piscean cusp of our chart. So I do have a Pisces rising sign. And, let me just tell you the victim mindset when it comes to weight loss, for example, because the first house can represent such thing, the dissatisfaction with the body. And I used to blame my grandmother because she forced fed me. She didn't let me stand up from the table if I didn't finish the food. And she always gave me big portion because she said, "Ooh, the chubbier you are, the better, the healthier you look." That was the old mentality, right? And then after, the persecution part is that, oh, it's my grandmother's fault, or the victim mindset could have indicated that, or the reason why I am putting on weight is because I've got diabetes. Or so basically we find excuses as a victim. And the persecutor is going to be blaming the grandmother. Okay. And then the rescuer, finally, we manage to lose weight and we might be making judgments on others, or we might come and then tell them, listen, you need to be losing weight. I've done it, so you can do it as well. And it's not like we do it for the wrong reason. So don't get me wrong, there is a lot of goodies around this. But did that particular person ask for our advice? Do we actually know what is happening in their lives? And probably we don't. So this is just an example of how you can be using Pisces to kind of get stuck. And often it comes with the reactions, anxiety, and creation of problems as well. Because Pisces is about attraction. So we attract whatever we think, we attract whatever we want to see. So if we keep seeing numbers in front of us, eventually those numbers are going to be popping up in our lives. Because we've got Jupiter involved in this picture in a tight square to the new moon. Therefore, we can be highly sensitive, highly spiritual. We can be very moody as well. Or we can have this like I'm suffering type of things. I don't have strength. I'm unable to get out of bed. Or we can be overly optimistic. Oh, you know what? Now, this month, I'm going to find the ideal partner, for example. Or we can get really, really confused. Did I meet actually the right person? Oh my days, I'm scratching my head. It's already kind of like bleeding, and I still cannot figure out what is happening. Or maybe we are extremely dedicated until our mood is kind of like up to scratch, right? We are in the right frame of mind. But as soon as something comes, like a problem comes around, unfortunately, we might go back to our old habits. And, someone dropped me a message yesterday saying that, oh, Victor, we've got so much Piscean energy. Did you notice that old addictions are coming back? And absolutely. And even this new moon is going to emphasize that you can go back to old addiction problems. Old is coming from Saturn, by the way. Old addiction problems, which you actually need to put a break on. Now, the sign of Pisces is the 12th sign. So often it is actually a representation of endings as well as new beginnings. Sometimes because it's a water element, we need to get back to the roots, getting back to the transcendent dimensions. So I tend to call Pisces as the Eden of garden, where everything was perfect. So you can be going down on a memory lane where, you know what, I remember when I was together with X, right? It was so beautiful. But then because of my mom, we had to break up, or because of school, we had to break up, or whatever the excuse is. So this new moon might be telling you that you need to see, or you need to start seeing things clearer. Now, Pisces because the signs are based on each other, built on each other. So the previous lunation cycle was in the sign of Aquarius, right? So in the sign of Aquarius, we kept the distance. We were part of a community. We discovered our own unique talents. In the sign of Pisces, actually, we need to become one with others. We need to realize that everyone is unique and we need to accept them that way. And we are not going to be judging anymore. And this is where Jupiter could be coming into the picture, where we're going to be asking a lot of questions. Jupiter in the sign of Gemini, we've got a lot of questions going on because we are uncertain about actually the answer that they gave us. This is the last sign, right? So, often the difficulty with the last sign is that the physical body is a strict container. And in the last sign, we might feel like that we want to break out of it. So therefore, we surrender. We want to go away. We want to escape. We want to run away. We want to be on a remote island and so on. And often the reason why we do that, because we don't know who we are. So the task here is to build your own brand and then to break it down eventually. And this is where Venus retrograde, is coming into the picture, which starts also this week around the lunation, to be precise, in the sign of Aries, which is going to talk to us about self-love. But in order for you to figure out, how to love yourself, probably you're going to have to go back to the very beginnings when it all started. So there needs to be an element of a soul searching going on. Pisces is also about obsession or addiction. So it's very easy to get addicted to things because that's an escape road for us. So maybe this new moon is an invitation to actually start studying Jupiter, Gemini. Start studying about your own flows. Start studying about your own obsessions and addictions. Pisces exalted ruler is Venus, so there is a lot of talent here, but this is an invisible talent. So often we are not aware of the Piscean part of our chart because there is kind of like this cosmic veil on it. This is the reason why sometimes you need someone to tell you. It's the sign of deep knowing, so deeply you really know what is happening there. It's just not always kind of like manifesting in the outer world. Some other keywords for Pisces new moon is its depth. It's kind of like the bottom of the ocean, and there is darkness there. And it can be really scary when it's too dark, right? Because something is unseen there. It's kind of like keep moving, but I don't see what's moving there. So it's extremely scary. And we've got the North Node here. Maybe this is the reason why it's difficult to go towards the path, because we don't know what the results are going to be. And this is why we've got so many questions with Jupiter in the sign of Gemini. The more we ask, the more of an assurance here that you are very uncertain what you are meant to be doing. So maybe one of the messages with this Pisces new moon is that you're gonna have to go with the flow. Pisces has got the tendency to do a lot of self-blaming, intellectualizing things as well, going extremely deep. All the water signs are connected to research to a certain extent. But Pisces typically is very indecisive. So it's the sign of hesitation. We find something while we are doing the research, but we kind of question it, we doubt it. And often it comes from lack of confidence. And remember, we've got Saturn in sign of Pisces as well. So the lack of confidence could be a major topic here. And by the way, also interesting that we had a new Sun, Mercury, Venus cycle started last year on 9 degree of Pisces. And even though that cycle just pretty much finished a couple of weeks ago, but it looks like that this Pisces new moon is actually reactivating the entire thing. And because we've got Mercury in the sign of Pisces as well. So it's very highly possible that we get confused with all the data and the facts that we have found. So we question those, we ask questions, we doubt whatever people are saying, and so on. You know, water signs are very quiet. So here what's happening is that we just keep quiet, we are very cautious. Water signs are more of an observers. And maybe we do that kind of like from a distance because we don't want to get involved. We don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. But remember, we also have got the Mercury and Saturn conjunction going on as well. It has taken place on 20 degree of Pisces, by the way, which is a reminder that we have to use our common sense. We actually have to say not too many things, but we must say certain type of things. Pisces symbol is also interesting. It represents two fishes facing opposite directions. So it's a dual sign, and it talks to us about an internal but continuous inner struggle that we have been in. So, what is your own struggle within that Pisces part of your chart? Because this new moon would like you to find solutions. And sometimes Pisces is the prostitution and so forth because it's a pleasure seeking sign. Often it sacrifices its own body or soul or work to be loved. The ultimate goal with Pisces is that we want to be loved in that particular part of our chart. Maybe the other question that might be coming up here is that whether you are overly trusting, for example, right? Or can you get pulled into certain type of shady businesses? A lot of Piscean energy. So this is telling you that it's time to start to see the shady people. Maybe when you have got that touch of feeling that this person is just a bit, dodgy, then I'm going to have to ask a lot of questions because eventually they're going to reveal something to you about themselves and then it's going to click. Oh yeah, here you go. I caught you. And also, Pisces can be highly negative as well. Now, some of the highest manifestation of Pisces, it's mystical. It's about spiritual awakening. This is telling us that the path for us is to have a spiritual understanding over ourselves. It is telling us that it's not only the physical body and the physical world that exists, but there is a parallel world also. Pisces is the greatest therapist of all. It is very romantic. It's a little bit more on the traditional side. It's highly creative and imaginative. It has got the talent to make people feel special. I think this is one of the things that people like about my readings, if I may become a little bit big-headed, that I always describe a negative manifestation of something, but I always describe the most positive one as well, because I think you've got the choice. You can make the choice which one you want to go for. I don't believe in, that everything is set in stones. So, a friend of mine dropped me a message yesterday. Oh, Victor, I'm a little bit shitting my pants because I've got Pluto, Mars, and maybe something else. Pluto, Mars, and something like that. Pluto, Mars, T square with a third planet. I cannot remember what the third planet is. So I'm shitting my pants. And then I was like, but the Pluto Mars really can get you out of your comfort zone. Also, it can give you the courage to actually start something in your life. Maybe it's in your career. Maybe it's about, your dreams to come true. Mars is going to be in the sign of Leo. So my advice was that you're going to have to be courageous enough to step on a stage and to be seen for your own talents. So don't always think about negative aspects basically as something that you are doomed. And I see this a lot in the astrological community. And Pisces can get stuck in its own comfort zone and it can be highly negative. So this is the reason why I am kind of like talking about this with you. The lessons of Pisces with the new moon that everything is bigger than all of us. Whatever happens in the world, yes, it has got an impact on the individual. But Venus retrograde is going to tell you that I'm going to be looking out for myself first. It is telling you to trust the invisible energies, to make spiritual bonds, to be able to let go, to recognize when something needs to go, and prepare yourself for a fresh start. Don't hang on to something for too long that has been kind of like making you miserable. And also, it is telling you to have faith in yourself, especially if that Pisces cusp is falling into your first house, for example. And yeah, I think I've kind of like spoken about this new moon more than enough. You know, sometimes it might be a representation of, okay, I'm going to be praying, or I'm going to be in a different state of mind. So I'm changing my mindset, or I'm going to be sleeping. Or maybe you will see that you go down on a memory lane and then you're going to start telling stories to people. But you can be highly creative with this. So do some painting, watch a film, do swimming or fishing or diving, or watch a romantic movie, sing in the bathroom, fantasize about things. Just make sure that it's not only fantasy, but you're gonna go towards your drink as towards your drink, towards your dreams. And yes, also it's possible that you're gonna get just drunk. Pisces represents homeless situations, so we might feel sorry for others. And as harsh as it sounds, but those people also put themselves in a certain situation, you know, a majority of them at least, right? So we shouldn't be always feeling sorry for others. Maybe you can do some meditations, or it is okay to rest, especially if it's connected to your 6th and 12th house. It is okay sometimes to stop wanting to do the plates, the dishes, and so on, because you're just tired, you need a nap, or you just want to play the piano, and all those type of things. And more potentially with the Saturn Mercury conjunction in Pisces, you will catch people lie. So that's another manifestation here. And maybe is again, if it's a 6 and the 12th house, you're gonna have to kind of like initiate a new habit, and therefore letting go of certain type of bad habits in your life. You know, one of the movies that come to my mind with a lot of Piscean energies is going to be Titanic, or even The Little Mermaid. That could be a super good example. And just think about The Little Mermaid. I think it's a brilliant one. She went through pretty much hell and heaven to get to the Prince Charming, who was perfect, right? And she finally got it. She lost her voice, but she got it back. So it's really this combination really reminds me of The Little Mermaid, the lost voice, Saturn and Mercury. But she is all about trying Mars in Cancer to unite Pisces with that perfect Prince Charming. And because we've got the Sun and the Moon conjunction, which is bringing together the female and the male archetype, so therefore this could really talk to us about even relationship matters as well. But even you can look at 50 Shades of Grey as a Piscean energy. And also, you know, I think the story is really Piscean there too. So, because Pisces is a medical sign, so I would say that you're going to have to be watching out for the lymphatic system, or it represents actually aura reading as well, or it represents your toes and feet. And also the sweating is a Piscean matter as well, or any type of hormonal imbalances, for example, could be going under the umbrella of Pisces, also Libra as well at the same time. And also that there's that gland within the body. What is that gland called? It starts with P, I can't remember now. But the one which is like an endocrine gland in the brain, and it does something with the vertebrates. and it produces the, how's it called, the melatonin, which is a hormone that kind of modulates your sleep patterns. So even, that kind of like a Piscean energy. But of course, it is an indication that maybe a lot of us will not be able to sleep. So a sleepless night, as well as it could, because maybe your brain is running 24/7, and there's Jupiter in Gemini. I keep thinking, right? Or you are going to be way too tired and then you are unable to get out of bed. So Saturn Mercury is also telling you that surely you're going to have to be kind of slowing that brain down a little bit. We don't need to be kind of like thinking continuously. But some other practical tips with Pisces: watch out for food poisoning. That's a very Piscean issue as well. Or immune system problems, diabetes could belong to Pisces, alcohol addictions, weight problems, especially if Pisces is in your first or the sixth house cusp. And of course, it brings in the topic of mental health as well. So it looks like mental health is going to be a major topic in the upcoming 18 months. Some therapies that are really good, or you can be doing with this, like shamanic therapies, kinesiology, water therapies, homeopathy, flower therapy, or lymphatic drainage massage. Or you can be doing just a water body cleansing, or you can be doing certain type of fasting, because that might be somehow lifting up your spirit as well as your mood, because you kind of feel a little bit more on the lighter side. It could indicate that you're going to feel other people's feelings pretty much. And the question is, who am I surrounded by? Like angry people, pessimistic people? Because with all this Piscean energy, just going to soak their energy up. Remember, the symbol of Pisces is two fishes are tied together, but they are swimming in different direction. So this is really are talking to us about that we are always in a continuous conflict within ourselves. We are pulled into two different directions. So Pisces can, to a certain extent, represent extremes as well. So I hope this helps to, oh, and then a couple of other things that just popping up in my head, being naive or knowing that miracle is all around us, but that has got a bit of a danger as well. If you are unaware of the fact that miracle exists, then you should start believing in it. If you always just rely on miracle to be happening in your life, but you are all about lack of action, the triplicity lord of Pisces is Mars. So sometimes what brings you stability, triplicity is about stability. What brings stability to Pisces is always the Mars position of your chart. Now, Mars is in the sign of Cancer. So we are meant to be actually taking actions. That's going to be always kind of like the remedy. You can even look at the triplicity lords of certain signs as a remedy. Okay? Often we feel like that I don't belong to this world, I was not meant to be born at all, or, that could be also a topic that might be something that you're going to have to be dealing with shortly. It really feels like with Saturn being there, that we're going to have to break down anything that is unreal. We're going to have to be looking at our unrealistic expectations towards the self and as well as others. Maybe we need to be having a more realistic picture of what success means to you. Maybe we're going to have to somehow diminish our own fears. Maybe you're going to have to be prepared to a new phase in your life just by letting go of something that is not needed there anymore, right? Or maybe you're going to have to give up on the idea, like on the concept that something seems one way and then we kind of believe that. If we start asking all those questions, what's going to happen is that things are going to start looking different. Just trust me on that. Okay, so lesson here is that nothing is the way we see it, and we need to be able to accept it. I think it is telling us that we need to take our spiritual growth a little bit more seriously. Sometimes we're going to have to see what's right in front of us, or if we are too focused on what's right in front of us, then we're going to have to be able to actually start seeing the bigger picture as well. Okay, so this is what I wanted to share, but as mentioned earlier, we've got two asteroids that I would like to talk to you about. One of them is Cassandra, which has got a conjunction to uh, the new moon. And then we've got Amor, which has got a conjunction with Jupiter. So let's start with Cassandra. Of course, Cassandra is on 8 degree 28 minutes on the day of the new moon. So it is a very tight conjunction. We might have spoken about Cassandra before, but Cassandra's astrological number, by the way, is, hold on, let me check my notes, 114. I know actually that one by heart. So it's 114 if you want to be looking at where Cassandra is in your natal chart. So Cassandra belongs to kind of Troy. And she actually had a twin sister. Oh no, she had a twin brother. Sorry. She had a twin brother. And both children were gifted with being able to give prophecies. And what happened was that basically the prophecy that she gave or she got actually came from a snake. So while they were sleeping at night, a snake whispered something into their ears or licked their ears. And this is how they knew what was going to be happening in the future. Now, by the way, this snake was sent by the sun, the god of sun, Apollo. And what happened was, unfortunately, is that people kind of thought that she was mad. And people did not listen to her warnings. And she was the one who predicted the fall of Troy. And basically, after a while, she got cursed by Athena. No, sorry. She was raped in a temple, and Athena blamed her basically for it. And Athena cursed her in a way that no one ever is going to believe her predictions and so forth. So that's when things started going actually wrong. So from an astrological point of view, by the way, Cassandra was discovered, by the way, while she was in the sign of Aquarius, and it had an exact sextile to Neptune. And of course, Neptune is the intuition, the planet of intuition. And Aquarius is an intellectually knowing something. And often astrology is associated with Aquarius. Okay, but what does it mean in astrology? So surely it represents certain type of well, actually, there is even something called a Cassandra complex in psychology. So the Cassandra complex is basically that, no one believes you type of stuff. Or we have got the tendency to ignore the signs. We don't want to see the warnings right in front of us because we've got kind of like a super ego going on. So that would be the Cassandra complex. So it really feels like that this time around, this new moon is bringing up the topic of victimhood, actually. But wherever Cassandra is in our natal chart, it shows where people might not be listening to you, where you know that you are actually right, but someone is trying to prove you wrong. Or even it would show what area of life you get ridiculed for what you believe in. So it really feels like that with this new moon, spirituality will be growing quite significantly, but at the same time, people are going to have their doubts about it, as well as people who want to believe in such things are going to get ridiculed as well. So therefore, it's very easy to lose credibility. Or imagine that someone is going to make a prediction, for example, in the political world, in the upcoming few months, and that person is going to be ridiculed or laughed at and so forth. But guess what? Later on, it's going to come true. Um, Also, maybe Cassandra has got the truth telling to it. We always want to say the truth with it, but after a while we get scared to say the truth. And I find it interesting that we've got the Saturn and Mercury conjunction going on as well, which is actually, you know what? I just keep my mouth shut. I'm just going to say as much as needed because maybe we are scared to say something. So this is Cassandra. And of course, you can be looking at even in your natal chart where Cassandra is. But definitely there are a lot of kind of like fears involved here. And I feel like even from a medical point of view, it kind of represents deaf ears. So the inability to hear things. Or, Cassandra in a way got silenced as well. And Pisces is a very muted sign. So it really feels like we just keep quiet. Okay, and then the other asteroid that I wanted to talk to you about, but I believe actually I made a video about the Jupiter and Armor conjunction before. Surely I made one because when I did the Jupiter in Gemini video, and I think I am very certain that I made a video about that separately. So you might want to be checking that video on my YouTube channel. If you want to be looking at where Armor is in your natal chart, its astrological number is 1221. And I mean, I think it doesn't necessarily need so much of a introduction, right? Because Armor, probably we all have heard of it, but Armor is very much about love. It rules romance. It shows how you want to be expressing your affection and desire. And it also has got quite a romantic nature. So we've got Armor in conjunction to Jupiter, but in the sign of Gemini. So, Gemini is the sign of the mind. So it looks like that we want to be able to make a stronger mental connection with something that is invisible. And I kind of like that. Or with Armor in Gemini, it's kind of like getting bored with people maybe who kind of suffers or let go or have no motivation in life. And probably I don't have issue with this either. And also we might be having way too many questions about certain type of alliances, as well as something to do with who we want to go out with and so on. But also just kind of like trying to fit Jupiter into the picture as well. Jupiter on one hand is about adventure. So even though it's an interesting one because Pisces would like to unite, but then Jupiter and Armor is like, really? I might think that there is something nicer out there. The grass is greener on the other side of the fence. So we have got this kind of like splitting hair type of situation, what to do here. So very briefly, just about these two asteroids, which are connected to this combination. So I believe it's time to very briefly break it down for the 12 signs. Let's get going. Okay, so let's get going with the Aries rising sign. So, this is a very interesting week because Mercury makes a conjunction to Saturn, North Node, and Neptune, and then we've got also the new moon happening here. So a lot of Piscean energies, but it's all happening in your 12th house. And as mentioned previously, the new moon is being squared by Jupiter. So now it could really talk to you about that there are certain type of secrets that are going to be popping up, or certain type of messages that you are going to be receiving in your dreams, or you have got these kind of like intuitions that are flooding you, and you might not know what to do with it, or you might not be able to decide what's real and what's not. But this is getting squared by Jupiter. And Jupiter is all about exploration, and also it expands things. So it's expanding the possibility of a new beginning, but this new beginning might make you feel a little bit more on the touchy side or more on the sensitive side, obviously, because you're going to have to be able to let go of something as well. It really feels like that this Jupiter is, though, giving you the chance to actually open, or opportunities towards like opening new doors in your life. So there is an opportunity here, but also it looks like that you are scared, or you're getting distracted at the same time, or maybe it's very difficult for you to see what's real and what's not. And this is the reason why you are going to be asking a lot of questions. Taurus rising sign. So we've got the new moon happening in your 11th house, which is the house of friendship, but also publicity to a certain extent, and your long-term goals. So maybe on one hand, you want to be actually kind of like making an announcement. You want to be doing an online business, for example. That has been your dream. And this new moon square Jupiter can give you the possibility to do something like that. Jupiter is actually, it's in the second house, so it's going to be a financial risk. So maybe the hesitation here is, am I going to be taking a risk, or am I not going to be taking a risk? And maybe you have been spending a lot of money on your friends. Maybe your friends are taking advantage of you, or maybe you just want to be establishing a better emotional security. And it really looks like that it's giving you the opportunity to earn more money, or to start working towards your self-esteem. But also, sometimes what Pisces does, and remember that we are boosting the confidence level by kind of like buying the feeling of love. Overspending money because, I want to look better and so forth. And we might be comparing ourselves with the society. And that's a really 11th house feeling. Gemini rising sign. So this is going to be happening in your 10th house, the house of career, achievements. So it might be actually the new start of a career, because maybe the previous one has not been giving you the growth that you want to experience. The personal growth, because Jupiter is in your first house. And maybe you are having conversations with your boss about pay rise, about promotions and so forth, but the answers that you get is kind of like flaky. So you decide, you know what, it's time to start a new chapter in your life. So therefore, new job opportunities, maybe actually you get a new kind of like project to work on. Jupiter wants you to take risks, but the square is a reminder that it has to be a calculative risk. So don't just shut the doors before you change job. Find one first, sign the contract, Saturn, Mercury, and then once we've done that, we can say goodbye to them. Cancer rising sign. So this is happening in your 9th house, the house of opportunities, travel, education, but also the legal system as well. So it really looks like that you are maybe going to start opening up towards new possibilities. Maybe you are recalibrating your mindset, and then you are going to work a little bit more on manifestation, as well as like having a more positive outlook on life. A new moon is always a new chapter. So Jupiter is in your 12th house. So there is a lot of hopes going on here that, yes, this is going to be great. I'm going to be relocating. The fence is made of sausage in that other country. And that can be the pitfall as well. Fences are not made of sausages. So remember, action taking is going to be extremely important here. But also you can be bumping into certain type of opportunities that could feel like it's fated. It had to be happening. And Jupiter is the planet of luck as well. So when a new moon is happening in the ninth house, it could actually bring you a lot of kind of like lucky situations as well. But the luck sometimes is at the beginning, it's kind of like negative with the square. So maybe you lose your job, for example, but this is the biggest luck of your life because maybe you find something extremely better instead. Leo rising sign. So we've got this new moon happening in your eighth house, which represents shared resources, psychological complexes, a psychological like progress, but also is the house of investigation as well as crisis situation. So it really feels like that you're gonna have to be investigating your own creative potentials. Maybe you have been holding in something that you might want to talk up about, let's say with a friend of yours, or maybe on social media. Maybe it's a secret that you want to kind of reveal about yourself, maybe your addiction problems, your psychological problems, in the hope of being able to help others as well. And also, yes, this could be bringing up the topic of how much money we make, how much money the partner makes, or do we have that intimate bond that I have always wanted to create? So you can actually start questioning your relationship also. And maybe you get a lot of promises with a Jupiter square that, yes, honey, it's going to be happening, you know. Maybe you feel encouraged by your friends. You know, it happened to me once that the friend kept telling me that, yes, it's going to happen. Yeah, ooh, that's what this person said and done. And, you know, it never happened. And I really pushed my hopes up. So just know that this could be happening to you, Leo. So don't have too high expectations, but this could be actually a lot of supportive friends and benefactors in your life. Maybe you feel very optimistic about getting a mortgage, for example, or that I'm going to be able to clear my debts by the end of the year. So, but also you can have a lot of questions whether to trust people or not, especially your friends. You might be questioning their own motives. Virgo rising sign. So this is taking actually place in your seventh house. A new beginning, a new chapter in your relationship department. And maybe all we have to do is just have a conversation about how to take the relationship further. Maybe you guys are planning to, you are hopeful that, let's say, you're going to get engaged, you're going to get proposed, for example, I don't know, in the next couple of months because your birthday is coming up, for example, and so on. But also, this could really talk to you about figuring out the truth about your own relationship patterns as well. Yes, this could talk to you about contractual agreements also. So, a beginning of a new job, maybe a competition will be popping up, knocking on your door. If you have got a business, obviously this might be an indication that you're going to have to be dealing with the competition, and maybe that Jupiter in Gemini wants you to come up with some marketing strategies. Libra rising sign. So this is taking place in your sixth house, which is the house of health, work, and habits. So I highly recommend listening to the beginning of the video because I've spoken about the habits and so on quite a lot. So if you haven't done so, I highly recommend because there's going to be a lot of message there for you. On one hand, it surely tells you that you're going to have to start taking your medical profile a little bit more on the serious side. It's the sign of self-care. It's the sign of blending the holistic health with some traditional medical type of stuff. But also it could indicate that you are going to be having a different approach about how to fix, improve, or maintain things in your life. So trying out new ways of, yeah, self-care and looking after yourself. Jupiter is making you potentially kind of like excited about starting, let's say, this weight loss journey or this new routine that you are about to get into. Or maybe it's even making you somehow very kind of like optimistic that, yes, now I've got an opportunity to fix things up. So I like that one for you. Definitely Jupiter in your ninth house is really talking about having a lot of opportunities to fix certain things up in our lives. Scorpio rising sign. So we've got the new moon happening in your fifth house. So are you ready for a little bit of a hanky-panky, a bit of a laugh, for example? I mean, Jupiter is squaring this new moon in the eighth house, so there could be a lot of hanky-panky, but also it could be talking to you about that it's time to learn about why you have got romantic like problems. Often what could be happening is that you have got the ability to attract the person, but you are not able to keep them around. And maybe there needs to be a lot of questions asked and answered to you. And maybe you're just going to have to be holding up a mirror, basically. Okay. But also, maybe someone promises you that, yeah, surely we're going to go out next week. I'm going to take you on a date and so forth. And then you are really excited about it. Hopefully, it's also going to be taking place as well. But definitely, there are muses around you. They are giving you certain type of creative ideas about which road to go on, kind of like what type of a performer that you should be becoming. And maybe you are very excited about this creative project, something that you are about to give birth to, that is going to be giving you money. Do pay attention to money matters, because we can spend a lot of money on fun activities, on children, on no problem, this person is about to sign the contract, no problem, a ton of money is going to come in, but they might pull out later on. So therefore, watch out of how much you spend. Sagittarius rising sign. So this is happening in your fourth house. So maybe actually a lot of past memories that are going to be popping up for you. Maybe you start remembering things that happened in your childhood, or maybe just you go down on a memory lane, and then you're going to have a lot of questions about what happened when I was 5, because I've got these flashes. And Jupiter is in your seventh house, right? So this could really talk to you about having conversations with your partner, where we want to live. Do we want to relocate? Do we want to build a home together? Do we want to build a life together? Do we want to relocate? So maybe you have got a lot of optimism going on about that my partner is going to have a lot of opportunities coming up, for example. But there is a lot of like lack of boundaries going on here. So even it could indicate that I'm not going to allow my clients to kind of take the piss out of me, like they are continuously late from the appointment and so forth. So it does tell us that we're going to have to be setting this straight with others also. Capricorn rising sign, this is happening in your third house. So it really looks like that you might be getting a new idea that you are going to be extremely excited about. And this idea could be something that is going to be fixing something in your life, potentially fixing, work situations, for example. But also it could indicate that you have got a lot of duties, work going on, and then you've got this idea of how to kind of handle them, and it could look extremely good at the same time. Also watch out, because a lot of your colleagues, sixth house, could be asking you a favor, Pisces, and maybe what we need to learn is to say no to them, or they just have to be a little bit more on the realistic side, rather than dumping every single crap onto your desk and then having to deal with that also. And I also feel like that you might be getting a message from a colleague of yours. You might be getting a message from a work opportunity also. So that could even be a possibility. Aquarius rising sign, this is happening in your second house. Well, maybe you start thinking about, okay, it's time to find ways of making money. Maybe what you desire is that I want to be able to do money or make money through something that I truly enjoy, something that I can invest in and I can pour my heart into. But also, if you are on the stingier side, that this would tell you that it's time to celebrate and it's time to spend a little bit of the money on yourself. I mean, watch out because you can really make big purchases. You can indulge as well with this. So you might end up having a lot of cakes and so on. Okay. And maybe it's kind of like you go to a birthday party, fifth house, and then you're gonna buy this very expensive gift, and that's Jupiter, Pisces, and so on. Maybe it's also about, as mentioned earlier, that you want to make money out of something that is more you, that's more connected to your heart desire. So even for you, Aquarius, this could eventually talk about a change of job. Pisces rising sign, last but not least. If you did not listen to the beginning of the video, the general description, I highly recommend. It's kind of like a must that you need to be listening to it, okay? Because a lot of information that I gave you is kind of like about you. Here, I'm going to be giving you a brief one, okay? So the new moon is in your first and Jupiter is in your fourth house. So this could talk to you about that it's time to think about how to start fresh. And maybe it comes from relocation. And maybe actually you are ready to buy a home, you are ready to sell a home, you are ready to relocate. It could give you kind of like that feeling that, you know what, I want to live somewhere else. But then we've got all these things and obligations that might be distracting you from it. Also, maybe you're going to have to be thinking about how to kind of make your body look more aesthetic for you or to become healthier. Okay. But your emotional well being could become a distraction. Or what you do at home behind closed doors might not be the healthiest. So it would be really important that we are kind of like dedicated 24/7. And also it feels like that you are going to be thinking about your true mission as well. It's kind of like knowing that I've got a big role within this family, but also knowing that this family has got a huge part, like playing a huge part in my life as well. So you're gonna have to rediscover your entire family dynamics to understand why you function in certain ways. So guys, this was a really brief description of the upcoming new moon for all 12 signs. I hope it helps. And I will see you very soon with my Venus retrograde video also for all 12 signs. Blessed be. Have a great week, everyone. Bye bye.